So guess what I just found in my closet? This enamel coated broiler pan. And do you know why I'm so excited about it? Because it looks and feels an awful lot like the baking sheets do in Europe. I've been dying to compare American and European baking sheets for ages, but the opportunity never arose because I couldn't find this kind of pan in the US. This pan came with my oven, and it's intended to be a broiler pan. Luckily, it happens to be exactly the same size as a standard half sheet. So let's take it for a spin and see how it does. There are two tasks that I want to test: roasted vegetables and roasted chicken thighs. To give me some benchmark, I'll do the same tasks in my standard seasoned half sheet and we'll see which one will do better. In case you are wondering about the materials, my standard half sheet is aluminum that I've seasoned to make it darker. My best guess about the black baking sheet is that it's carbon steel coated in enamel. Unfortunately, it's impossible to tell for sure since I didn't buy it. For the vegetables, I'll use butternut squash. I made sure the amount of squash, oil and salt is identical for both baking sheets. My oven is set to 425 Fahrenheit and the convection fan is off. Here is the aluminum sheet. After 40 minutes in the oven, the corners are brown. The sides are fairly brown, but the inside is not brown at all. That's typical. The center of the pan is always slower than the sides. I stirred the squash and returned it to the oven for 10 more minutes until it was nicely brown and completely soft. Here's the black baking sheet. It browned slightly faster than the aluminum one. I got to this stage after 38 instead of 40 minutes. The corners and the sides are darker than my aluminum half sheet, but the center is still pale. Let's stir and put it back for another 10 minutes. The final result is the same as my seasoned aluminum sheet, but it went slightly faster in the black sheet. Now let's try the chicken thighs. For this, we need to take some precautions to make sure our chicken doesn't stick. My oven is at 450 Fahrenheit and I am preheating my baking sheet for 10 minutes before adding the chicken. I'm also drying the chicken thighs very thoroughly. I salted them yesterday, so all the salt should have been absorbed by now. Typically, I'd use my grilling glaze for this dish, which speeds up browning tremendously. But today, I'll just use a splash of oil to see what the baking sheets can do on their own. I'll make sure I place the chicken pieces in the same spots on both sheets. 3 in the back, 3 in the front, and 2 in the middle. I'll also use my convection fan. The aluminum sheet took 25 minutes to give me some color. When I was flipping them, some was slightly stuck, but not too bad. I was able to flip them all without ripping the skin. The center ones were still a tad pale. Then I gave them about 7 minutes for the second side, and here's how they came out. Now let's try the black baking sheet. I preheated it for 10 minutes. In goes the chicken. 25 minutes later, I got some color. This pan gave me slightly more browning and less sticking than the aluminum baking sheet. I put them back in for another 7 minutes. And here are the two pans in exactly the same spot with the same lighting. The difference in color is not as dramatic as the video makes it look. That's because the chicken really stands out on the black baking sheet. For comparison, here is a piece from the middle of the aluminum baking sheet, and here is a piece from exactly the same position on the black baking sheet. It is indeed a tad more brown. Overall, I'd say the black baking sheet performed slightly better than my seasoned half sheet. What's remarkable is that it did that out of the box, or in my case, out of the closet. To get even close to this level of browning, my aluminum baking sheet needed a good bit of seasoning. You probably heard the term seasoning, mostly applied to cast iron pans, but I find it incredibly useful for American baking sheets too. In the US, the standard commercial baking sheets that are sturdy, don't warp, and last forever look like this. If you want to use them for pastries, cookies, and breads, you line them with parchment to prevent them from getting grimy. This light color prevents the bottoms of your baked goods from burning before the top browns. However, out of the box, they perform terribly for roasting vegetables, chicken, etc. They tend to be sticky and brown very slowly. To solve this problem, you simply need to let them get a bit grimy. If you are wondering what these dark spots are, they are fat. Fat that was heated long enough to polymerize. In other words, to become solid. The solid fat fuses with the metal and provides many benefits. It reduces sticking and speeds up browning. You can certainly wait for many years for this patina to develop naturally, or you could season your baking sheets like a cast iron skillet. I'll link to a video below with instructions on how to do that. Once you develop some seasoning, don't scrub it off during cleanup. Soap is fine. It can only remove liquid grease, and yes, that's something you want to do thoroughly. No one wants to cook with greasy pots and pans. But don't pull out your steel wool or barkeeper's friend and start scrubbing the dark stuff. You might have seen my video about seasoning baking sheets. The comment section of that video is divided into two camps: American and European. Most Americans are very excited about the idea of seasoning. What's not to love? The less you scrub your baking sheet, the better it browns. Most Europeans feel that this whole seasoning thing is silly. Why buy shiny baking sheets in the first place? Why not buy dark ones? In Europe, the baking sheets are completely different. Most ovens come with two dark enamel-coated baking sheets that slide right into the sides of the oven. Every time I cook in vacation rentals in Europe, I am amazed at how well their ovens brown. But now, it looks to me that it's not just the ovens. The baking sheets used in Europe definitely contribute to this good browning. So you have just seen the advantages of the enamel baking sheet. So now let's talk about the drawbacks. It is significantly heavier, slightly deeper, and overall bigger because of this lip. This makes it more difficult to maneuver in the sink, fit into a drying rack, and store in the kitchen cabinet. This kind of baking sheet is also incredibly difficult to find in the US. If you know where to get it, let me know. The only thing I could find were replacement broiling pans made by different oven manufacturers. The annoying thing is that they all have some sort of divot, which is not ideal. I know that uncoated carbon steel baking sheets are available, but they require a lot of seasoning and you can't use acidic ingredients on them. The beautiful thing about enamel is that it's not reactive. Anything can go into it and it's relatively non-stick. Most of my American viewers are probably thinking, why not just buy black, non-stick baking sheets? That's because they are typically coated with Teflon, which will wear out, and many non-stick baking sheets are flimsy and warp at high temperatures. I have seen some home cooks getting great results from William & Sonoma Gold Touch baking sheets. They are heavier and darker than the typical half sheets and brown at a similar speed as my seasoned baking sheets. And of course, there is the price. While standard half sheets are very cheap, William & Sonoma Gold Touch are a bit pricier, and the Wolf broiling pan is really pricey. I found cheaper broiling pans from GE and Whirlpool, but they are slightly smaller. I know that seasoning baking sheets is not for everyone, and I hope this video gives you ideas for baking sheets that brown well out of the box. Here are more thought-provoking culinary videos for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.